This is this is day 304 of the Arukh HaShulchan OC. If you would like to sponsor upcoming share more of the Arukh HaShulchan OC, contact me directly. Be very greatly appreciated. Today we are doing Siman Reish Tes, Sif Yud, through Siman Reish Yud, Sif Gimel. We're talking about when a person made a mistake and said a bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Baruch Yagav, Shakol Yebifar. And the question is if that Shakol Yebifar fixes the Baruch Yagav for in case there's water or beer in front of him as opposed to wine. So the Yudi says, "Mil kapaim das going the fair shush reef im loyadak klaushu mine." You know it's water at all at the time you made the bracha. In other words, by the time you finished Baruch Yagav, you were not aware that it was water. Let's happen to the Evan. You're not used to even with the Evan because you can't go back afterwards and fix it. Even talk to the Dibur and say, "Oh, Baruch Yagav shakol ne'ebi bar." So that's where the shachar you go back and have to go back and make a shachar. So that's a tesis, which kosam l'sim sib zayin. It's also tesis. Now bush kosam gam bezesh lo yadashu mayim. Even though you hear where you didn't know there was water, since tokdei dibur you reneged and said, "Whoops, don't say whoops." The shachar you're yotzei. And the Mishnah Berurah paskins like the lavush, ayin sham. So that. Well, we'll see in a moment. There's going to be a major point of contention between the Mishnah Berurah and the Arukh HaShulchan. Seems that you have to know by the time you finish the bracha that it was water. Yesh mishot tzachai ben tefillah sham, but there's about davening, and the pirus anani kan, and here's the pirus anani b'dochak. It's difficult to say that. Even though it's normally you say subject brachas, and you should not go say the bracha again. But the Arukh HaShulchan says that there is no suffix to say like the Labush here. Since neither his thought nor his speech was appropriate, ain't a bracha cloud, and it's not a bracha at all. So the thing is that the Mishnah Berurah Paskins, it is a bracha, and like the Labush. So therefore, in fact, even though Arukh HaShulchan says not so brachas lahakel, that's from his perspective. That was only the bush. From our perspective, it's also Mishnah Berurah. So then, this would apply subject bracha salaka, and therefore, if you said Baruch Yagafen realized it's water and said Shakol Ne'evidvor immediately thereafter took the Dibor, you will not have to say the bracha over again. Yudav Kasar Min Rama. If other people are drinking and there was wine also in front of them, and he had in mind also the wine. Because he thought in his cup there was wine as well. And he made the bracha and we all turned out that he was not in favor in this party, evidently. Because he only had water or beer. Well, the Baruch in this case took effect because he had a mind to drink wine, and if he drinks wine later on, it takes effect. The Yotze the bracha made on your cup, even though it was a mistake, because he had a mind to drink wine afterwards. And also, he evidently had a mind to be motzi other people, even though there wasn't mentioned previously. L'chein b'rosah bracha, therefore bracha is a bow bracha kalashon. Beard dvarim nearly. Because watch this, what it's saying. The name in law you achem shoysen gangim. Other people not drinking as well. Lu batzmo yeshosen koseh. Or he himself is drinking this cup. V'taita yah b'shas bracha b'shtos gam kosos achem. And he had in mind the time of bracha to also drink other cups. Sheh ben yain, in which there was wine. He thought in his one cup was also wine. Mine found that water. I raised the mamish adin Hashem is bar b'sim reish vav v'birach al peri. V'nevad, if you made a bracha on a fruit and it got lost. V'haya imhaya b'taito. If you had a mind to eat more of this species, have a eight sort of bar. You don't need a new bracha. Oh, that's if you didn't taste the water in your cup. In other words, you lifted the cup to your mouth, and you saw, whoops, beer or water. In that case, the Berg can take effect on the wine which you're going to drink later on. But in a case where you actually drank from the water, have a hefsek man bracha yain, but so it's hefsek you have to make a new bracha. Which the Berurah though argues. So if the Mishnah says nevertheless it's not a hefsek because you didn't. Because hefsek is only the dibor. There's fascinating machlekes here between Mishnah Berurah and Arukh HaShulchan. According to Mishnah Berurah, hefsek is specifically b'dibur. According to Arukh HaShulchan, hefsek is also b'shisia, drinking. A ma'isa is always a greater hefsek than dibur, but not necessarily, because the whole concept of bracha is a dibur, and therefore maybe only dibur is a hefsek in a dibur. But anyway, so this is a basic machlekes between the Mishnah Berurah and Arukh HaShulchan. Again, if this ever happened, it's a remote scenario, but if it ever happened, we would have to be making like the Mishnah Berurah. And so the Berurah government expect even if you drank water in the interim. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. Now, so this, if he was, if the people, the other people were wine were drinking, and he taka was mevarech and motzi all of them, and they all were yotzi with his bracha. There's no interruption between his bracha and the other people drinking. That's very cool. In other words, there's a continuity through the people who are yotzi with his bracha. Even though he made the hefsek with the water, according to Shita Baruch Shalom, there's continuity which kind of goes around his drinking and links up with the wine he will drink himself afterwards. Practically says it was Asik Shapir, Mashik Shulataz, etc. And Mashkas Amar Avram Adim Okech Ibudim Birkas Pokech Ibrim O Bahavdala. Okay, I wonder what that's about. Ain't said the bottom of the name Adina Koidim. I don't have I'm looking at Abraham available right now, so I'm not going to take the time to look it up, but it's interesting. When are we talking about that? Okay, the Mishnah Berurah, the Mishnah Berurah says in name Magen Abraham, another reason in another interpretation, I should say, of the Ramah's statement that even if he didn't have in mind to drink more, let's say in the second say, let's say it like this. The Ramah in his second statement says, right? First was he had in mind to drink. The first reason he gave was that he had in mind to drink wine later on. And the second reason the Ramah writes is that he had in mind to be motzi the people there. So obviously, what Rosh says being motzi other people means that there's a continuity which goes beyond your drinking. So he says, in explaining the second reason, even if he had in mind to drink more, he just made a bracha stam, without any intent. Since he was mostly others with his bracha, so his bracha is not about Torah. So therefore he's allowed to drink wine afterwards on the basis of that bracha. And the Mishmura adds, or the Magen Abraham adds, that the Ramah is going to Shitaso, that where you didn't have a specific das, you have to go back and make a bracha. But I guess, in other words, we didn't have specific das to be motzi others. You have to go back and make another bracha. But the Mishnah Berurah and Be'er Locha write that there's several poskim who hold that even b'stama, even if you didn't have mind to be motzi, the bracha takes effect for all of them. So in that case, in our issue, no matter what, you would not have to go back and make a bracha. Sharatzian says that it's pashut that the Maharal gave two reasons for this halacha from which Ramah takes us from the Maharal, because each reason in itself was not so clear to him. Okay, but in any event, I'm sure the Mishnah would agree that Arukh HaShulchan that if he had in mind to be motzi others and they drank the wine immediately, then you should not go back another bracha. If nothing else, because something brachas laka. The base. Kasar Veda says if Gimel Kol brachas in Mistapi Birch, all brachas if he's not sure he made a bracha or not. Ain't a bracha lo b'tchil, but so if you don't make it, go back and make the bracha. But chutzi birchas hamaz except for benching, minei shator because it's the rice that comes to shoynei. Mishnah Berurah says that's only if you make knei svia. So not to be satisfied, because then it's the rice. But Torah says the gam bracha mein sholosh having the rice, so shiva saminim. The Torah holds that the bracha of Al Michya and the Shiva Siminim is the right. So therefore, a person who's God fearing should eat of the same type of kazayis more, so can make a definite bracha. These are speaking Dina Shesh the Plikla Rabos Kumasham Basim Reish Ches Yimo is a big machlekes whether Reish Ches can be the rice or not. Pri Megadim says the Mishnah Berurah says the name of the Pri Megadim that if he doesn't have any more of that species, to take another species, which is also the Shiva Saminim. So, such as the 8 Priya 8, you should take B'nai Mizonos and include them in the bracha achrona and add the fruits. Although, if I recall correctly, Arukh HaShulchan frowned on that earlier, jumping from species to species. Not sure he would agree with that, Mishnah Berurah. Reishud, halacha pachas mikzayis madino, b'din birya. So he eats a lesson of gazayis, what's his halacha, and the halacha of a fruit or whole vegetable. Aleph, Plani's by the bracha rishona and l'shir. We're going to explain the bracha rishona is made no matter how small the shir of what you're eating is. The fil koshu, the fil achal koshu, he ate the smallest possible amount. Drank the smallest possible amount. Shuchai v'varches make a bracha. The shir kazayis revis in eliyam bracha achrona. The shir and given of kazayis and revis are only for the bracha achrona, below the rishona, not for first bracha. Thus, it also means that bracha now to derive pleasure from this world out of bracha, even the most minute pleasure. And each bracha is as it is for a full kazayis, for less than a kazayis as well. The lokshi yesh mishasov. It's not he who holds apachas mikazayis b'chol davar b'chasel rak shakel that if you have less than kazayis, you make a shakel no matter what you're eating. Then okay, it's not true. Ela bracha, but pachas mikazayis come over kazayis. The bracha less than kazayis is the same bracha like kazayis. V'chein mashkin so to my beverages v'chein beyond the reish tim and reish base. The kol ochlim start with the kazayis. All food joins together to make kazayis. V'chol mashkin levius, and all beverages join together to make a revius. Shar Tzion, not so happy that he says that's beverages which are other than wine, but half a revius of wine, half a revius of beer. It's not clear if they're mitzvah for burning of fashos, because there is a suffix, because maybe by wine, you can make a baruch on the kazayis, the bracha ruilo. I guess that there's a suffix, I'm not trying to recall. And a wine, you make a bracha achrona even a kazayis, not just revius. In any event, I believe there's Arukh HaShulchan passing earlier, if I recall correctly, that if you have a half a kazayis, half a revius of half a kazayis of mizonos, and half a kazayis of a vegetable, then you would make a bracha achrona burning the fashos. But I think that's from memory, and I really should look up before I tell you explicitly. Okay. B'shul decides to echilas pras, and you should eat a kazayis, of course, in the echilas pras. Otherwise, you can't make a bracha achrona. People are not aware of that. You can't make a bracha and bench unless you have at some point more meal of kazayis in echilas pras. Become a echilas pras. It's here of my mashkish machlokas as a machlokas. How much is how long does it take to eat a pras, and also how long the interruption between drinking beverage and still mitzaref, or mashkishal ochlin dami, and the liquid which is on a dry and a solid food is like solid food. Vigadim. Let's see what the Mishnah Berurah says here. Mishnah Berurah says that there are opinions. They need 3 or 4 that pras is either 3 or 4 kibetzim. And it seems that here it's not going to be mitzaref, that whole kazayis, unless it's specifically in the framework of 3 kibetzim, because the shir of kazayis, even in terms by bread, in terms of birkas hamazon, the shir of kazayis of bread, in terms of birkas hamazon, it's the rabbana, and therefore you should be machmir. As long as we say suffix rabbanim l'kula, but here it's kind of like a suffix whether the rabbanim applies to the oraisa. So therefore, it has to be 3 kibetzim. Pri Megadim said that's only in terms of the shir kazayis, but in terms of eating bread to satisfaction, make a chiyuv the oraisa, that you're chayav even if you ate a little bit, as long as it's called this, as long as it's reached, it falls a category of savata, but the Shara is not clear about that. Okay, be that as it may, back to Arukh HaShulchan. That which beverages require revius bracha achrona, zil das Rambam per gimel. Oh, this is what he was talking about in this Mishnah Berurah. That's the opinion of Rambam, Ben Yain, Ben Shar Mashkin, both wine for other beverages. For say about it, Tosis Tapka behind. Tosis in Sukkah, that Chapov, not sure by wine if you require a Vias, or die because I said bracha achrona, or maybe because ice is enough. Or pulse because ice or Vias. Therefore, if you're drinking wine, you should either drink less than a kazayis or revius. Right? The less than a kazayis means less than about 1 ounce, and more than revius means more than 3.3 ounces. The Sri Dhamma has a Rambam, but most people hold like the Rambam that it's 3.3 ounces even for wine. Kenya das are saying about the Shulchan Aruch. Seems that that's a law according to Shulchan Aruch. Some say the shear is malo lugma, which is half of revius. I am Sima Kubtsari. There's no distinction between types of beverages. Local behind Soraf came not like he who holds the famous or infamous Taz, depending on who whether you hold like it or not, that by whiskey, since it's strong, you can make a bracha according to less than a kazayis. Then okay, it's not true. Only need mashkin even for alcohol, even for alcoholic beverages. The shirvi sukfi masha mapil beitza umechza, and the shirvi is that which beitza and a half displaces mekli mole mayim from a vessel which is full of water. Now it's beitza and a half. It's just three kazesim. Right, so it's like we said, 3.3 ounces. The Zelio Rabbah, the Magen Avraham says that he has to displace wine. I'm not sure how big chiluk there is, I guess, because wine more can sit on the top of the cup above the ribbon. Then the Mukhar, it's not compelling. Back to that was the end of the short brackets. Now back to the text. The Mishanim Beit Minonim use average eggs. Those like the maybe Yehuda and the Chazon Ish wanted to double the shurim. They should stand up because they say eggs got smaller. For Rabbi Shane okay, the Arukh HaShulchan does not hold that way. Shurim lo nishtanu lo yishtanu. Shurim didn't change and will not change. Which doesn't mean it's based on it's big, larger, and smaller eggs. So they say tash baits. No poskim which time siman kum samaches ayin shom. Yesh mishomer shirvis machzik k'fi mashimu shtei klipos mi beitas tarnagolos. So Rabbi says the amount that 2 shells of a hen's egg will hold. Zoshir apalas beitzu mexeran, that is the amount which will displace a beitz and half of the water. We say a revius is a 1/100th of a hin. Currently a zoo, kvartal, kvartero, or tzvertica. Okay, whatever that is. I assume that is something like an ounce. A gazais which shriveled and became less gazais, ain't some bracha achrona. Gazais which is less gazais is called bracha achrona. Became level so bracha achrona. And if gazais is bloated, it's more than gazais called bracha achrona. But coming ba'ochlim ain't with starting the gazais. The holes in food do not join to make up a gazais. Because the biyarnu b'sim reish beis ayin sham. It's important to remember that kazayis is really a volume measure, not a weight measure. So that's why the holes not necessarily join together, don't necessarily join because they don't necessarily comprise volume. Beis yesh mishkasa b'loshen said those are in this the following way. Nearly the acha pacha someone. There's one person who wrote this. Usually Arukh HaShulchan says it's more. You have Ram here too. Nearly the acha pachas mikashir. If you ate less than a shir b'alach lachutz, the chazim coming, you went outside, came back to the place. So if shenis b'tchila afilu pas, you gotta make a bracha again, even if you ate bread. So ain't no bracha achrona because you ate less than shir bracha achrona, but dina kashar dvorim, and therefore it's like anything else. And so chinim chazav bracha pachas mikashir in mitzarvim, and therefore not even sure if you ate another pachas mikashir if it joins together. That becomes extra das because it's if he got distracted in the middle. But nearly the mitzarvim, he says nevertheless it joins together. Ad kan l'shoyna. What does Mishabur say about this? He says. He passed like Magen Avraham. Shulchan, however, says, "I knew starting here. It seems to me the came in his bar, but raised him a kufn ches. That ultimately besides pass answer of the Sidaim. Since we learned that unless the besides bay, you don't require the slime. But totally b'seh. Therefore, it depends on this. If you wash, they definitely going to join together. because he had a mind clearly to finish that kazayis. The chain ain't so bar chain so don't make a second bracha. The body coming up say so the chok kazayis yes was clearly by watching indicated he had a mind to eat kazayis and more. Though yes when the ad kibetza and there's that because those all that are up to a beta required yesterday. He's gonna tell the other way he didn't wash his hands, so the bar chain have to wash again because vein starting they don't join to each other. The Torah should start. They would say they would join in Yocha Beipamim B'Chol Pam Pachas Mikazayis Im Tzorachel B'Liyat Tzedayim. So come out that if he can eat many times less Kazayis and not have to wash it all. Kimmel Yerushalmi Yisrael Yochanan Ochal Zayis Berach Lev Tchil V'Sov. It says in Yerushalmi that Rabbi Yochanan ate a Zayis and he made a bracha both before and after. I forgot the Kshenisali Garin Shenabarachil, even though when he removed the pit, which is not suitable for eating, Ebo Kazayis. Kazayis itself is not a Kazayis. Because something which is a complete entity. Answer kazayis does not require kazayis. It says there, if you ate one grape, so bracha is a bracha. Actually, kazayis even though it doesn't have kazayis. Pizza also keep the sachas. According to the same, eats one bean. Adash achas or one lentil. Or pul echad, another type of bean. Shatzin here says also a small fish. Bracha. These Barakona was saying about it. Taisus stop with them. Taisus questions this. Because says that Isa got Sham. Because this story is also in the Shas in the Bavli. Makshaganke Rabbi Yochanan Yerushalmi. He asked him Rabbi Yochanan like Yerushalmi does. And Matarates, but in the Yerushalmi answers because it was the period. But the Bavli answers the Matarates Rabbi Yochanan besides Gadol. Even though he takes the pit out, you sure die because I spent it will still be the size of a medium olive. Sure, the kazayis ubeni, and the shir of kazayis is a medium olive. No trade to shas mitam birya, and since the Gemara in the Bali doesn't explain that it's because of birya, shmai minal shash shalanu lays take Yerushalmi at the end of the birya. Must say our shas, the Bali doesn't hold like the Yerushalmi by birya. Allah shash shalanu, Allah is like the Bali. And then yesh tomar you can say shama says shash shalanu ain't no mas Yerushalmi. You say it's two separate stories. But Shashlon Maydacha Zayis Maliach Ayin Sham. It could be that there, according to the Bible, he ate a salted olive, and the Yesh Loma the Kvarnit Lagan is so Bisham, and it could be was pitted. Pains a kriya, so therefore it's not a birya. That's where you have to answer. Then you had to say go because it wasn't a beer. But the beer is but the mice the tun shul paskin that beer is a suffix. Therefore, you should never eat a beer less than kazayis. But rather eat a lot of them. If not, you have a day suffix. So bracha will be in a place of suffix. He doesn't mention beer at all. It must be the whole halacha is not like the Yerushalmi. That's the end. Not necessarily.